Good evening, everybody. I hope you guys had a wonderful Sunday and a beautiful Sunday afternoon with your family. And we're going to give it just a few minutes to populate. And I want to welcome you as you come in to What's on Your Mind. And I am your host, Benita Bradley. And I want to just say hi to everybody, so I'll give it a few minutes to populate. So we are live on my personal page. We're also live on my ministry page. And we are recording on YouTube as well, all right? All right, so we'll give it a few minutes just to let it populate, give you guys time to get in. And when you come in, do me a favor, click share for me, all right? Thank you. So I'm going to give it a few more minutes and then a few more seconds, really. Then I'm just going to get right into what we're going to be talking about tonight. When you come in, click share for me, if you will. And many of you know I've been doing a series, and I've been talking about depression in ministry, depression in leadership, depression in Christianity, and depression in daily living, and some other things as well. And so tonight we're going to continue on our series about depression in ministry, depression in Christianity, and depression in daily living. All right, so when you come in, click share for me. All right, so tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about how to live and cope with and deal with your new normal after you go through, really difficult times in life. Tonight we're going to talk about learning how to deal with our new normal, okay? Because sometimes when things happen, hey Pastor Shane, how are you? So sometimes when we go through things in life, it just can knock the wind out of us. It can knock the breath out of us. It can pull the rug from underneath us so much so till it's hard to kind of just bounce back from that place. And so sometimes we have to learn how to live and how to cope with and deal with in the realms of our new normal. So tonight, that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about dealing with our new normal. Because I'll say it again, a lot of times when life just like hits you and toss you about and all these unexpected things start happening, and before long you're just like, Lord, like if one more thing happens, I just don't know what I'm gonna do, and almost without fail, that one more thing happens, and before you know it, you find yourself in this place that you just really can't get a grasp on reality. You can't get a grasp on life. You can't get a grasp of like, what just happened. And so tonight we're going to really, really talk about, and I hope some of you chime in and get into the conversation. I want to see your comments. I want to click share when you come in. I want to see what's on your heart as well. Remember, the name of the show is What's on Your Mind. So that's the question I'm asking you as well. All right, so we're going to be talking about that tonight because a lot of times, trying to do right, trying to be, Christian, trying to do what's right, just trying to be a good moral person. And when difficult things happen in life, sometimes it's not as easy to just bounce back like we think we can. And, it's not so easy to get healed, emotionally and mentally from certain things. And I'll tell you this, and it's really not that easy. Now, you all can, I don't know how you deal with things, but when people do stuff to intentionally hurt me and refuse to apologize, child, that's hard. That's hard, but we still have to forgive even those people. You got to learn how to forgive people when they're not even sorry, because sometimes people are just, They just low down. They're not sorry. They know they hurt you. They meant to hurt you. And even if they didn't hurt you, mean to hurt you, once you make them aware of how you feel or how you felt about something that they did, and they still won't acknowledge your feelings, they still won't apologize, they still won't try to make it right, that's hard. I don't, maybe some of y'all more saved than me, but that's hard to forgive. It's hard for me to deal with you. It's hard for me to trust you again when you have done sometimes irreparable damage, particularly to my heart, and then you won't even, acknowledge what you did. You won't even acknowledge that you hurt me. It's like, so we just supposed to be good, okay. So, like I said, maybe some of y'all a little bit more saved than me, but that's part of me I'm still working on. Listen, I extend forgiveness because I need it every day. I extend grace because I need it every day. I think the difference is I'm one of those people, I'm quick to apologize. If I done something wrong, if I hurt you, even if I don't know I hurt you, once you make me aware of it, and if we was in a heated moment, I'm not going to apologize right then. Just give me a minute. I might apologize later on that day or the next day. But if we in a heated, everyone wasn't raised in the same house, and some weren't raised how to treat people. So you have to love from long distance, forgive and release, even though you want to cut them. Yeah, Pastor Myron, definitely. Okay, so let me explain to you guys again. So those of you that are watching from different pages, you won't be like, she all right? So I'm good. So here's what's going on. I'm live on my personal page where some of you are commenting, and I'm live on my ministry page at BenitaMinistries.com. Thinking about my website, but that's not .com, that's .org. And I'm live on my Facebook ministry page at Benita Bradley Ministries, and I'm also on YouTube, okay? So if I mention something or someone and you don't see it on your particular page, don't worry, I'm okay, all right? I'm probably answering someone else that's on a different line or a different feed than you, okay? All right, so when you come in, do me a favor, click like and click share if you will. Again, so tonight, we've been talking about dealing with depression, and I came forward, we started this show June the 1st, but I had kind of been talking about it here and there during my Bible study hours with you on Thursday afternoons. I was kind of hinting around with it, and just kind of testing the waters because it was something I was really afraid to talk about, to be honest with you, because I didn't know how, the church would respond. I didn't know how some of my friends would respond. I didn't know how some of my colleagues would respond if I just really came out and said, this is what it is, because sometimes we don't like to be transparent to the point of vulnerability. I just want you just just enough about me, but don't get too close to me because that's just I don't like people that close to me. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times I didn't know how people would receive what I would have to say, or how they would see me. If they would see me differently once I came out and told my story. But it took me a long time to face my fears and get over the opinions of people, and decide, what, hey, this is something I really feel like a burden to do. I really feel like this is my assignment for this time in my life. All deliverance doesn't come from the pulpit. There are many different avenues that God will have open for us to bring healing and deliverance, just to get things out in the open so we can start having conversations about things that we as Christians, we as a church, we as a community of African Americans, just things we don't like to talk about, And so I finally got over my fears, and my first show, one of the things I mentioned that I had been diagnosed with clinical depression, and I was diagnosed with that after my daughter died, but I had already been dealing with it for a long time, and I just didn't know that's what it was. I had been treated for other stuff and had been counseling for other stuff, but no one ever said this is what it is, and so that's what I came to talk to you about, That's my secret, if you will. And I shared with you guys the big secret about dealing with depression is that we don't want to tell anybody, because one of the things that Christendom and the church is notorious for is calling everything a spirit, calling everything a demon, calling everything something other than what it actually is. We're notorious for making uneducated guesses about things and about people, and before we educate ourselves, we'll just say, oh, that's just a spirit, and we'll kind of leave it at that, not really being educated on the matter, being educated on the subject, or being educated on how to recognize different symptoms when people start pulling away, when people start being really lethargic. We're going to get into all of that. But I wanted to talk to you tonight about, I'm going to recap on some statistics that I have for you also, but I wanted to get into tonight about learning how to deal with a new normal, because after you go through a divorce, so many people that's gone through divorce, but they won't tell nobody. So when you see them, and you be like, wow, how Herman doing? Oh, he good. Girl, you ain't seen him in 3-4 months or years, Why we pretend? If you see a guy friend of yours or whatever, how's everybody doing? How's Betty Sue? Oh, she's fine. Child, you ain't seen her in months of Sundays. Like we just the biggest pretenders I've ever seen. So, listen, it happens. Life happens to us all. So I went through a divorce after being married for 20 years, in ministry. And last year my daughter died suddenly. She died suddenly, like in a 12-hour span of time. Like I shared with my audience last time, like she called me like at 12 noonish. She was like, hey, I'm not feeling well. I'm like, where are you? She was like, I'm at the hospital, So I go out to the hospital for just about 12 noon. It's about 12:21 a.m. they pronounced her dead. So she literally died in front of me. I'm holding her hand. I'm praying. I'm believing God. I'm praying the prayer of faith over her. I'm believing God. I always say one of the graces that God did give me was that I saw her take her first breath when she came into the world. My voice was the first voice she heard when she came into the world, and I saw her take her last breath when she left, and my voice was the last voice she heard when she left this earth. And so, and she was only 33, 34, 33, I think 34. And, but she died suddenly, and that was extremely hard. I was already dealing with depression, but I didn't know that's what it was, and I didn't know the extent of it. But when she died, it was really hard for me to kind of bounce back. It was hard for me to get out the bed. The only thing I would do, I would get up, get my shower, maybe get something to eat, maybe not. But I always got up and got a shower and got back in the bed, and I didn't want to go out. It took me a long time to start going outside again, a long time to start going outside again. Because even before that, I share with my audience that I am a brain tumor survivor. And so I am so grateful to the Lord for that. Many of you that are new to the show, you're probably saying, what is she talking about? Brain tumor survivor? No way. Yeah, I actually had 2 types of brain tumors, and so they were able to remove 3/4 of one of them, and then the other one, I've had 2 different surgeries to correct each one. I had to have a different surgery for each one. And so here we are. So, I was dealing with all of that, and then on top of all that, my daughter died suddenly. And so it was hard for me. It was really hard for me to get a grasp on what had become my new normal, where my daughter and I were extremely close. And I tell people, I had my daughter when I was 16 years old. So we grew up together. We literally grew up together, and everywhere I went, she went, The only time my daughter wasn't with me when I had to go back to school, because I was 16, so I had to finish school. and I went to, at that time, a predominantly white school, and so when a black girl got pregnant, that was, they wanted you to go home, or we had a thing back then called the Beta Club, where pregnant teens could go to school until they have their babies, then you go back to your regular school. Well, my dad, I came up in a military family, and my dad was like, no, you going to the school that you're assigned to in the area where I pay my property taxes. Hey, Evangelist Denise, how are you? Come on in. Click share when you come in for me, please. So my dad was like, no, we're not taking her out of school. I had one of our history teachers, she was like, well, why don't you just go home and have your little baby, and maybe you can come back when you have her, or maybe not. So when I did try to go back to school after I had my daughter, she fought me, and I couldn't get back in school. So at the time, we were going to Bishop Elita Whitehurst's church in Apopka, New Covenant. We were going there, and she and my mom got together. They called the commissioner. At the time, it was Commissioner Butler, I believe. They called her, and I was back in school like in no time. I graduated on time with my class. For my daughter and I, we literally grew up together. I would drop her off at daycare at Tri-L. I would just drop her off at Tri-L. Then I would have to go to school. After school, I would go back and pick her up. So we came up together. So when she died suddenly, it was really, really hard. It was really hard for me not to call her. It was hard for me. Hold on, my other phone is ringing, and I'm trying to turn it off. It was really hard for me to learn how to cope without her. That was really hard. Y'all give me a minute. Let me log back on. I so wish people wouldn't call me when I'm on live. Hold on a second, guys. Okay. So if you're on my ministry page, we are back. So if you were on the ministry page and you got kicked out, come on back in. I'm back now, all right? I do apologize for that. But I was saying that, so my daughter and I, we literally grew up together. So when she died, it was hard for me to go on. There were moments I was like, I don't know if I could do this. She would always tell me that I was a hero and that she was strong because she saw me being strong. But after she died, I was like, why I got to keep fighting now that she's gone, And so it was hard. It was hard for me to take her number out my phone. I had to take her number out because I kept trying to call her. I kept trying to send her a text message and wondering why, I'm not going to get no response back. So it took me a long time to actually deal with her sudden passing. It took me a long time. And I'm still dealing with it, if I just really be honest with you. I'm still processing it all because it's only been like a year. Okay? So when you go through things like that and your new normal, is kind of forced upon you, you got to find a way to get in sync, and you got to find your groove within your new normal now, because what you used to do, you can't do that anymore. The things, particularly with the people in your life, if they're no longer there, you don't have that anymore. So you got to find a way to kind of, make your new normal work for you wherever you are, okay? But when you're dealing with depression, it's hard to adjust. It's hard to adapt, And so it's hard to adapt, and a lot of times people say, oh, she's funny acting, she don't like to be around people, she's bougie, she's stuck up, she's this, she acts like a white girl. Listen, in my adulthood, I've heard it all. I've heard it all, and the more I would hear it, the more I would back away from people, and it was just a crazy time, because when you are going when you're going through depression, and you don't know how to explain to people why you feel the way you feel, and what you're really going through, and why you don't want to show up for this, and why you don't want to show up for that, and why you haven't called, and, oh, I called you but you didn't answer, or I text you and you didn't reply. Sometimes people don't understand, and so then you don't know how to really tell them, like, well, I didn't respond because I didn't feel like talking to anybody. I didn't know what to say to you. And a lot of times, I said this before, people mean, so they really do. They mean well when you lose a loved one, when you go through something really, really hard to handle. People mean well, but the moment somebody says, oh, God don't make no mistake, they're in a better place, everything in your body cringes. Like, oh, the better place is with me, when, particularly if it's your child, your spouse or what have you, or a parent, no, the better place is here with me. The better place is where I can call them. The better place is where I can, text them. The better place is where I can go see them when I get ready. The better place is us sitting down sharing a meal together here and there. That's the better place. The better place is not with them, not here with me. That's not the better place. And so, I don't know what's going on with this other live. But if you're on my ministry page and you keep getting kicked out, come on over to my personal page, which is Benita Bradley. Go over there, and I'll keep working on this particular page to see what's going on with it, okay? All right, thank you. I apologize for the inconvenience. But anyhow, like I was saying, when you're dealing with depression, it's hard to explain it to people, especially if they've never been through it, or if they're not willing to be honest enough about having been through it. So it's hard to talk about. And the thing about it is, when you do get the courage to talk about it, that's the biggest part of your freedom. When you no longer have to keep it a secret, when you no longer feel like, man, how are people going to see me? How are people going to view me? If I say something the wrong way, or if I, have a day, or are they going to be saying, oh, she goes through these depression spells, that's probably what's wrong with her. You have to deal with all that, And I'm going to say this. Christians can be some of the worst bullies I've ever seen. I said it. Sometimes Christians can be some of the worst bullies I've ever seen. So and before you guys be like, oh, she's funny acting, or he's acting crazy, have a conversation, see what's going on with people before we just start labeling people and dismissing people and forming opinions and passing those opinions around, without being sensitive to the person at hand, okay? So like one day I'm gonna be able to hire me a production crew, and I won't have to do this anymore. One day. So okay, we're back on my ministry page. But anyhow, I was saying that a lot of times we just don't know how to interact with people when they come out and say, well, I've been dealing with depression, because a lot of times I said this, and not an indictment against our particular culture or our community, but it's just the truth. It's the truth. We got to stop being so sensitive when people start talking about the truth of the matter about things, okay? And so we're not so quick to talk about depression in our culture and in our communities and in our churches. We're not so quick to talk about, grief and how it comes in waves, and we're not so quick to explain how you ride that wave when it comes, because it can get really difficult. It can get really difficult, I even shared about having suicide attempts early on, tried it 3 times, and for some reason the Lord has been gracious and kind to me. He has been really kind. And you might be thinking, well, what could have been that bad to make you want to feel like you needed to try to commit suicide? Life sometimes can get just that bad. Things can happen, honey, that you can't tell nobody about. Your color purple voice, better not tell nobody but God. Things can get really rough in life, and you have to try to find a way to manage. You have to try to find a way to go through. You have to try to find a way to just get up and just keep going and keep going. It's difficult to keep going when you don't even know where you're going. You don't know what's stopping you. You don't know why things keep happening the way they're happening. It's really difficult. But we got to get to a place where it's okay for us to have these kind of conversations. It's okay for people that you know and people that you love and people that you respect, to come out and say, hey, I've been dealing with depression. I've been diagnosed with clinical depression or what have you, depression and anxiety. We got to start having these kind of conversations, because here's the truth of the matter. It's probably, I'm almost sure, it's more people than not dealing with depression, okay? It's just that we don't talk about it. We don't do this kind of stuff right here. And when I told my therapist I was going to do this, she was completely on board with me. We talked about this months ago about me doing it. And when I would go see her, I go once a month to see my therapist. When I go see her, she was like, have you started the show yet? I think you're going to help a lot of people, and I was like, no, not yet. Truth of the matter is, I was afraid. I was afraid to talk like I'm talking. And then one day, I stopped being afraid. I stopped being afraid of who's going to receive. I stopped being afraid of, what people are going to think about me. I'd rather, like, for real, I'd rather that here's a person, anointed, looks like me, talks like me, dress like me, live like me, love God like I love him, highly anointed. I'm really intelligent. You can think that's arrogant if you want to. It takes a lot for me to say, hey, yes, with all of that I have going on, I was diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety. They normally will go hand in hand. They will normally go hand in hand. Not always, but most times. I'll say it like that. Not always, but most times. And I just woke up one day and I was like, I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of feeling like I gotta walk by myself. I'm tired of, feeling alone, like in this bubble, where I can't come forward and talk about this with people, because I figured like this. I shared the idea with a few people before I actually started doing it. And for the most part, I got really positive feedback. I didn't share with that many, less than 5 people. But some of the people that I did share it with, they were really supportive, really, really supportive. I have a dear friend in London, and, he prays for me. I ran it by him. Some of my friends here, you guys have been wonderful encouragement, wonderful support. Lynn is one of my truest, dearest friends, and she's always there. We've talked together, we've cried together, we've laughed together, so you got to have a good support system around you when you get ready to do something like this, because for as many people that will support you, there will probably be 10 that wish you wouldn't come forward with this, because it makes stories like these make people uncomfortable, because sometimes people feel like, well, sometimes people feel like your truth is going to expose their truth, or your truth is going to ask them to tell their truth. This is just my truth. It's my story. Sure, I invite you guys to come on in, be a part of the show, what have you. If you want to come on and be a part of the live, I'll buzz you in, but I'm not asking anybody, you know, to be as transparent as I am. You know, this is just part of my therapy. This is my freedom moment, you know. This is my victory, you know. This is my coming out, if you will. You know, not the kind of coming out y'all think now. But this is my coming out. And even if it was, it'll still be my coming out. But it ain't. All right? Let's get that clear. All right, so let me go over some statistics that I have for you, and then we're going to get right back into dealing with our new normal, okay? All right, so I told you before that 322 million people worldwide live with depression. 322 million people worldwide live with depression. That's according to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, okay? And then according to the National Institute of Mental Health, approximately 14.8 million American adults experience major depressive disorder symptoms, you know, in a year's time, you know, in a 12-month span of time. You know, we talked about how women are more likely to be diagnosed with depression more than men. Men experience it different. However, African American men are even less likely to be treated for or to even talk about signs of things shifting in them. They're reluctant about going to the doctor. They're reluctant about saying, hey, I just don't feel right. You know, they think they're just tired. Their depression come off as aggravation, you know, anger all the time. They're tired all the time. They're really, you can say, boo. What you trying to boo me for? You know, they just explode, you know, but sometimes it's the underlying issues lying there that we don't see, and we don't really know how to deal with one another correctly because we don't always know what to ask. We don't know how to say, you know, are you okay? We don't know how to say, you know, you want to talk. We don't know how to enter into these kind of conversations, these kind of dialogues. We don't know how to, you know, ease into there a little bit, you know, so we can start these kind of conversations and we can have people to open up. I'm concerned about everybody, but I am especially concerned about our African American men as it relates to depression and anxiety, even thoughts of suicide, things of that nature, because our men don't talk about this kind of stuff, you know. We don't encourage them to talk about it. Unfortunately, we start talking about it when we see, oh, another pastor killed himself, or another pastor killed his family, then killed themselves. You know, then we start talking about it. Or when a scandal breaks out, then we start talking. Then we start having conversations. But most of the time, it's a wrong conversation. You know, we don't have preemptive conversations. You know, we have conversations after the fact. You know, but we don't have preemptive or preventative conversations. You know, we come in after the fact and try to diagnose a situation without information. All right, that's what we do, and it's unfortunate because we're missing the mark. We're missing the way we really need to start dealing with each other. Okay, so men are less likely. African American men are less likely to talk about symptoms of depression. Remember, I also told you the reason why they have higher levels of psychological, it's called, yes, that's right, Evangelist. That she said, for those of you on the other devices, Evangelist Denise is saying they love to compare you to their spiritual walk of faith. And can I say this? And if you have any intelligence about yourself, listen to what I'm saying. Depression or anxiety, it has nothing to do with faith. She says, yes, it do get heavy to bar you in your spiritual closet because you're fighting it without leaning on family or friends because you're in the now, not looking at your tomorrow, okay? And she's absolutely correct. You don't know how to tell people. You know, I said it earlier. You know, people be saying, oh, she's funny acting. Oh, she don't like to be around people. Oh, all of a sudden she's different. You know, and instead of investigating, they'll speculate. You know, and most speculations are wrong. And then also, sometimes you can make a decision based off your interpretation. Perception is mostly how you. This is what you're thinking about. It could be the furthest thing from what's really happening with a person, but because of the way you see it, it makes it really difficult for people that love God, people that walk by faith, people that walk through faith, walk in faith. You know, it's difficult for people like me to have this conversation to say, hey, you know, today's not a good day. I don't feel like leaving the house, you know, or can I reschedule this appointment with you? You know, today's just not a good day. I just can't right now. You know, we don't make it okay to have those conversations, because as soon as, I've seen it happen, like as soon as somebody says, well, I think I'm depressed, but I'm not sure. Oh, that's a spirit. Oh, we plead the blood of Jesus right now. The blood covers your mind. The blood of Jesus. And the poor person is like, so not only am I experiencing psychological difficulties, and now you're saying I got a spiritual issue in me as well. So now we've compounded that person's particular issues because we just went in, you know, kind of dogmatic. Oh, that's a spirit. Oh, no, you just need to trust God. You need to get your faith in place. You know, we start doing all of that, and the poor person walks away in a worse shape than they were before they even decided to come out with their truth. And a lot of us, I said this earlier, I'm going to get back to my stats in a minute. I said this too, a lot of your favorite gospel artists, a lot of your favorite preachers, a lot of your favorite bloggers and Facebook sensations, you know, have been diagnosed with clinical depression by a real doctor, a real therapist, a real psychiatrist. You know, not somebody trying, oh, I see the Lord showed me you was having trouble. Y'all better stop lying on God with all that, first of all, okay? And so, but I'm talking about being diagnosed by a real therapist, a psychiatrist that knows and sees what's really going on. And then, and a lot of them won't talk about it. Some of them will be coming out and start talking about it, because I know I'm not the only one, but I'm going to make it okay to have a conversation. And those that love me still. And those that don't, you can't miss what you ain't never had. So, you know. And so it's when we start talking about depression and anxiety, if y'all would do me this favor, stop talking for a second and listen to people. You know, don't be so spiritual that you can't have a decent conversation with somebody and actually hear what they're going through, and actually, you know, get a feel for what they're feeling, what's wrong. You want to talk. You know, it has nothing to do with faith. In response to what Evangelist Denise was saying, it don't have nothing to do with faith. You know, it just is what it is. And a lot of times things happen, you know, and sometimes it could be, let me show you something right quick. It just can be a lot of different things. You know, it could be something psychological going on. Oh, I want to share with you in one of our broadcasts, I do have a screening for depression I could send to you if you like. If you go to www.BenitaBradleyMinistries.org and you send us an email and say, I would like to have the depression screening test, I'll send that to your email, or you can inbox me and I'll send it to your, inbox me your email and I'll send it to you, okay? All right. So a lot of times I do a lot of research because I like to know what's going on, and I like to be informed, okay? We will not have revelation without information. All right? We're just not going to do that. We're not going to have conversation without information. So there is a thing called, some people have, clinical depression. Some people have major, what's called major depressive disorder, and that's MDD, but the other side of that is just clinical depression. Some people have a mild form of depression. Some people, it's moderate, and then some people have that major form of depression and different things that go along with that, And the thing about it, we don't like to use the word mental illness, but that's what it is. All of it is mental illness. We don't like to say that word because it sounds so bad. It just sounds bad. They say, I suffer with mental illness. That sounds bad because we've made it such a demonic thing. We make crazy jokes about it. We say stuff we ain't got no business saying, and we think it's funny when it's really not funny, because 9 times out of 10, most people that make them kind of jokes, those are the ones that's going through it themselves, but they have not been to the doctor yet. But you and I can be like, something off with you. You throw it off. So we got to be more mindful when we start talking to people and we start hearing conversations about depression and anxiety as it relates to Christianity, as it relates to being a pastor or being a leader. I was ordained as a pastor in 1997. Since 1997, that's not how long I've been dealing with clinical depression, but just to tell you, it has nothing to do with my walk of faith. It has nothing to do with my anointing. It just is what it is. And sometimes things will happen that it's hard to recover from, I wanted to give you some of the things that can cause you to fall into these type of depressions where it's just hard to, here it is. So it says some of the causes that causes depression, as many mental disorders, a variety of factors may involve things such as biological differences. This says that people with depression appear to have physical changes in their brains. Listen to this. The significance of these changes are still uncertain, but may eventually help pinpoint causes. I'll read that again because I said this earlier. A lot of times we'll just say, oh, that's a spirit, that's a demon, oh, they acting out, oh, they throw it off over here, or, they just trying to get attention over here. Or such a child will say, oh, they bad, oh, they this and they that. But I want you to hear this. I want you to hear what I am saying. These are the causes of what causes people to have depression, what causes different types of mental illness. Again, we don't like to say that word because it just sounds so bad, particularly when it comes to the church and Christianity, being in leadership, for as long as I've been in leadership. I started in leadership when I was 14, to be honest with you, at New Bethel AME Church, and I'm 51 today, so you do the math, and it just has nothing to do really with your faith level and where you are spiritually, all right? So listen to this again. Sometimes it could be biological differences. People with depression appear to have physical changes in their brains. The significance of these changes are still uncertain, okay? However, they hope to be able to pinpoint this in the future. And I'm reading information from the Mayo Clinic. This is what I'm reading. I'm reading from information on depression and anxiety and mental disorders and mental illness from the Mayo Clinic, okay? All right. The next one is brain chemistry. Brain chemistry. And some of you that are in the medical field, if you're a doctor, you're a nurse, what have you, if you're on, you can chime in, what have you. It could be brain chemistry. It says neurotransmitters are naturally occurring brain chemicals that likely play a role in depression. Recent research indicates that changes in the function and effect of these neurotransmitters and how they interact with neural circuits involved in maintaining mood stability may play a significant role in depression and its treatment. All right, I'll read that again. We're talking about the causes of depression, the causes of mental illnesses, so that we won't just keep saying, oh, she throw it off, or he throw it off, or he just an angry person. We won't keep throwing our children away, say, you know what, they ain't going to never get it right. You know, we got to look at some underlying issues that might be going on, okay? It says brain chemistry. I'll read it again. Neurotransmitters are naturally occurring brain chemicals that likely play a role in depression. Recent research indicates that changes in the function and effect of these neurotransmitters and how they interact with neural circuits involved in maintaining mood stability may play a significant role in depression and its treatment. So again, I want us to get out of the habit of automatically saying, if somebody want to talk to us about mental illness or depression or anxiety, we got to get out of the habit of saying, oh, that's a spirit, because everything is not a spirit. We can't just be so super spiritual until we become spooky and ineffective in how we deal with people, okay? So the next thing is hormones. You know, changes in the body's balance of hormones may be involved in causing or triggering, listen to this, causing or triggering depression. Hormone changes can result with pregnancy and during the weeks or months after delivery. We know that's called postpartum. When the mother isn't bonding with the child right away, that's called postpartum. And it can be from thyroid problems, menopause, and a number of other health conditions, you know. So here again, we want to just stop automatically assuming somebody has lost their faith, or somebody has sinned, or somebody done picked up a spirit, or they have a demon, because they're saying, well, I'm dealing with symptoms of depression, or you actually have gone to a psychiatrist or what have you, and been diagnosed with any form of depression, whether it be clinical or major, you know. So we want to be careful. I'll read that one again. It says hormones. Changes in the body's balance of hormones may be involved in causing or triggering depression. Hormone changes can result with pregnancy and during weeks or months after delivery, known as postpartum, and it also can be from thyroid problems. That's men and women, you know, thyroid problems, menopause, or a number of other conditions, you know, that are taking place in the body. Some stuff we don't even know what's really going on in the body. Most of the time, one thing has to happen for them to discover something else that's actually going on. It was like with me, that's how they found out that I had brain tumors, because I had like a mini stroke, and when I went to the hospital for the stroke, that's when they discovered, oh, you got a brain tumor, and it's growing, you know, and it started growing so rapidly, I kept having these little strokes, you know, and so finally they got to the point where I had lost all of my peripheral. I had absolutely no vision, no peripheral vision, you know, and then my frontal vision was starting to go, you know, and sometimes people would say, I spoke to you and you didn't say nothing, you know, you acting funny, and I would have to tell people, well, sweetie, if you came up on the side of me, I didn't see you, you know, if you wasn't like right in front of me, I didn't see you, you know. And I've heard people walk away and say, she's seeing me, you know, because when you lose your sight, your ears get real keen, you know. So even though my sight has been restored, my ears are still really, really keen from that 2 to 3 year period of time where I actually had like no peripheral at all. I mean, I couldn't drive, I couldn't do anything that required me to see for myself, you know. And so you don't know what's really going on in the body until something else happens. Like if you're having these really bad, I used to have these crucial migraines, and one thing will trigger something else, and that's how normally they'll find out what's going on in the body. The other one is inherited traits. Depression is more common in people whose blood relatives also have this condition. Researchers are trying to find genes that may be involved in causing depression. Again, I'm reading information to you from the Mayo Clinic. I'll say that again. One of the reasons or factors that may be involved with depression or any mental disorder is inherited traits. Depression is more common in people whose blood relatives also have this condition. Researchers are trying to find genes that may be involved in causing depression. All right? So we understand now that it's not a spirit, you know. So let's stop treating it like it is a spirit, because it's not. It has nothing to do. Evangelist Denise, on my personal page, for those of you on the ministry page and on YouTube, she mentioned earlier, you know, it's difficult to talk about it. You know, it's difficult. You know, you feel like, you know, I can't lean on this person, I can't lean on that person, because you're always going to feel like you're being a burden on people. You know, when you get in those dark places, you don't really know who to talk to, because everything to you feels like you're going to be a burden, you know. And there are some friends and family members and colleagues that are really actually going to be there for you. But for the most part, you know, when you stuff start to get back to you, that family members have said this, or oh, she's just trying to get attention, or family members have said that, or, you know, she's just funny acting, you know, she act like that anyway. She thinks she'll such and much. When you start hearing that stuff get back to you, you know, all that stuff people say, particularly your family and people who are supposed to be really close to you, you know, that stuff starts to get back to you. People you are in ministry with, that stuff starts to get back to you, and it starts to make you feel worse and worse and worse. So much so till you get to the point where you just cut everybody off, and you just become this recluse. You know, you don't want to see nobody, you don't want to talk to nobody, you don't want to go outside, you don't want to be around people. I had gotten to that point. You know, that's the point I had gotten to. Particularly when my daughter died, people that I thought would really be there for me, never heard from them, you know. And people that I had no idea cared for me that much drove, you know, for hours to come be with me. We had 2 services. We had a service here in Atlanta. You know, some of you came from Florida. Some of you came from Warner Robins. You know, some of you came from Macon. You all don't even know, like, what that did for me. You know, some of you that I thought were really close, hadn't heard from you still to this day. You know, no cards, no flowers, no nothing. You know, so it's hard to go through that. And then when we got to Florida, some of you traveled. You drove that 5.5-hour drive to, again, be with me and my family. And I was so grateful. I am still very grateful to you all today. Those of you that actually held me together during that time. You know who you are. You know, you held me together. I do believe, had it not been for my friends, I don't know if I would have made it through, because my kids and I, we're the only family close, you know, like we have here. I have a niece here, you know, but close, you know, like somebody I would just say, hey, I'm not feeling too good, you know, I need to go see my doctor, this and the third, you know, not today. You know, we don't have, all of my family lives in Florida, okay, where we're from. So when you go through these kind of things, you know, you need people to lean on. You need people not to be judgmental. You need people to be understanding. You need people to be educated. But I don't know what it is. We won't educate ourselves in the black church. We'd rather not talk about a thing before we educate ourselves about a thing. And depression and anxiety is one of those things that we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about it. We want to spiritualize it. But again, I read to you from the Mayo Clinic, it has nothing to do with your spirit. There could be several things that's going on with an individual. And by the time people get the courage to do what I'm doing, which is coming out talking about, you know, clinical depression and anxiety, talking about those dark days, talking about, you know, times where you was like, God, either you going to come get me or I find a way to bring myself to you, you know. When you start talking about things like that, I have a lot of people that might call and talk to me about it. But when I start doing these lives, they won't come on, they won't, you know, say amen, they won't say anything, and I'm cool with that, because what my assignment might be you might not be ready to tell your truth like this. You might not be ready to be this transparent, because a lot of times transparency will lead to vulnerability. And I don't want to be vulnerable no more than the next person, but this is what my assignment is at this particular time in my life. It is to bring light to this particular dark subject, this taboo subject in the body of Christ and in the black community. We don't want to talk about it, like I said, until we hear about one of our colleagues in ministry, or a pastor committed suicide, or a pastor killing his family, then killing himself, or a pastor that has fallen, or a pastor or a bishop or a leader that has, been caught up in a scandal. Then we want to talk, but we're talking about the wrong thing. We need to start having these conversations before all of this stuff happens, and we really need to educate ourselves on how to deal with people with mental illness. That's the word we don't like. I'll say it again, because it just sounds bad. It sounds bad when you say mental illness or mental disorder versus saying depression or anxiety. It just sounds a little bit cleaner, a little bit neater, a little bit prettier than saying mental illness or mental disorder. It sounds better than clinical depression. If you don't say the word clinical in depression by itself, everybody go through that. No, everybody don't go through it, because everybody don't understand what it really is, okay? You might have a day where you're feeling sad. That's not depression. You're just feeling sad. Depression has nothing to do with feeling sad. Trust me, okay? It's not just feeling sad. There's a feeling of overwhelming, grief, overwhelming. It overwhelms you, okay? I had days I couldn't even get out the bed. I shared earlier, I would get up, get a shower, get back in the bed. I have these room darkening drapes in my room. Number one, because I have migraines a lot. So if you have migraines a lot, those room darkening curtains are a blessing, okay? So a lot of times I wouldn't even draw my drapes to let any sunlight in, because I couldn't. I couldn't. Letting sunlight in sometimes means letting the day in, letting the world in. And when you're really in that dark place and you're really struggling with depression and anxiety, you don't want the world in. You don't want the light in. You just need a minute to process and figure out, how do I go on? How do I go on now? How do I keep going without being married, after being married for 20 years? How do I go on, now that I can't do everything I used to do, and because now I've had these surgeries and, I've had these strokes and, this, that, and the third, or how do I go on, without my daughter now? She was my firstborn, my first love, my first everything. She was, my children are everything to me, even when they've got me to my highest level of passivity. They're still everything to me, and so I had to figure out how to go on. Exactly. For those of you on my other other lines or other streaming areas, Evangelist Denise is saying they seem to kindle the fire when you share, and we don't need more negative energy when you are in an emotional battle. That is so true, and that's why it's important that we start educating ourselves. It's important we have these kind of conversations. I thank you so much for commenting, because I said this again. I know there's a lot of people, even some of you watching, that deal with clinical depression. You've actually been diagnosed with depression by a doctor. Let me tell you something. People that have gone through cancer struggle hard with depression, because, see, that's a battle of an unseen enemy. If I know you don't like me, then I know how to deal with you. If I know you can't stand me, I'll know how to deal with you. But an enemy with no faith, oh, help me, Holy Ghost. An enemy with no faith, an enemy with no body, an enemy with no form, we don't know how to fight that kind of stuff. We don't know how to come back from it. Cancer is an enemy that we can't see. It's an enemy without a face. All we know about cancer is its name. And we need more than a name to win this battle. And so people that go through cancer, they suffer with depression bad, because they're fighting an enemy that they cannot see. I know I went through it myself. You know, in 2006 or 7, they tried to tell me that I was dying. You know, they gave me a diagnosis, well, cancer has spread to your brain, and, you know, we need you to go home and get your affairs in order. I'm like, are you telling me I'm dying? They were like, yeah, well, like, how much time do I have? Like, we don't know, but you really need to go home, sit your kids down, talk to your kids, talk to your family members. I was such an emotional wreck behind that. Listen, that was in 2007, I believe, 2006, 2007. It was like a year after I got divorced. And I got divorced in 2006, so it was like a year after that. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? I'm dying? You know, and I'm just like, so I went through all of the, you know, they got ready to take me through all of the treatments. I was going to the oncologist, all of that. And as soon as they got ready to start my treatment, I go in one day, and the nurse comes running. I'm talking about I was in the hospital. When I tell you, them people, they x-rayed from the crown of my head, literally, to the end of my toenails. They x-rayed every part of my body. You know, I spent 2 days in the hospital. Nothing but tests. Nothing but tests. You're talking about emotionally drained. You know, physical battles, we can fight physical battles because we know what we're dealing with. But internal battles, those enemies without a face, honey, let me tell you something. That's the most intense battle you will ever fight. When you got an enemy that you can't see, you don't know where they're coming from, you don't know how long they're going to stay or how long they've been there, and you got to try to fight to survive with an enemy with no face. You know what I'm saying? And so I went to get all of my results. And so when I walked in, the nurse came running out, and I thought to myself, oh, God, they got a timeline. They're going to tell me how long I have now. So she came running out to me. My breath literally got stuck in my throat, and I was like, yes? She says, oh, we have news. And I'm just like, okay. So I start crying. She says, no, don't cry. It's good news. So I'm thinking good news means, so I'm still going to die, but I got a little bit more time than I thought I had. That's what she been telling me. So they got me in the back. Dr. Summer comes out. And I'm going to tell y'all who Dr. Summer is in a minute. Dr. Summer comes out. He says to me, I don't know what happened. He says, we have tested you from head to toe. And he said, whatever was there. He said, whatever was there, we cannot find it anymore. This was in 2007, y'all, when they told me to go home and get my affairs in order because cancer had came from somewhere, they couldn't tell me where, and had spread to my brain. This was 2007. And they had told me to get my affairs in order. They told me I was dying. They told me they couldn't tell me exactly right then how much time until they finished with all these tests they put me through. And so the day I went in to find out how much time I had to live, one of the things I did when they first told me, the first thing I said to God, I'm not a transgressor. And I know you're not angry with me. So what is this? Why now? What is this? You know, and so I remember calling my brother. I remember just screaming and crying. I remember getting all my medical documents. I remember copying everything and sending them to my brother. I remember telling him, make sure you look out for my kids and this, that, and the third, you know, because remember I had just gotten divorced like the year before. And so the year immediately after that, y'all telling me I'm dying? Like, I said, so where did the cancer come from? Well, we don't know. So the day I go in for them to tell me how much time I actually have to live in 2007, he came in and he says, I don't know what happened. He said, we have tested you for 2 whole days. He says, I know you're tired. By now I'm just crying. Whatever you're going to tell me, just tell me. Like, you know, just rip it off. Rip the Band-Aid off. Tell me, you know, because I've already contacted my family. You know, I've talked with my children. they know I'm dying, so you just give it to me, whatever it is. So he says, we cannot find what we saw in your x-rays. I said, so are you telling me that the other doctor made a mistake? He says, no, I read the report myself. He said, no, there was no mistake. He saw what he saw, and I saw it too. He said, I read the report, I studied the scans, everything. He said, but somehow, after we finished all of these testings, he said, we cannot find what we saw before. He said, so what I'm telling you, the report was accurate. We, in fact, saw what we saw. You, in fact, proof on the paper showed me you, in fact, were dying. 2007, y'all. He says, however, we can't find a trace of cancer in your body. That was in 2007. My daughter, the one that died, when she was diagnosed with lymphoma, Hodgkin's lymphoma, she wound up having the exact same doctor, Dr. Sarma. How crazy is that? And so one day, you know those older doctors, they're real good. They don't forget a face. They don't forget a patient. One day, I took her to the doctor, and the doctor walked by, and she told me when he got in the back, he said to her, the lady you was with, who is that? I know her. She said, that's my mom. He said, that's your mom? He said, she was my patient. And we thought in 2007 that she was dying because we saw where cancer had, gotten to her brain. Y'all, it's 2019. I just want that to sit in for a second. (2019). And so, when you see me, when you hear me, when you experience my life journey with me, know that it comes from a place of humility. I ain't got to tell you I'm humble. If I got to tell you I'm humble, then something ain't right. I don't have to tell you that I'm grateful. I don't have to explain what God has done. All I got to do is live and tell my story. And in the interim of me telling my story, my prayer is that you know you're not alone. When my daughter was going through chemo, she would get so depressed. She would say, Mommy, I'm tired. I'm just not going to do this no more. She would be like, listen. When she would be in remission, she would be like, if this cancer come back, Mommy, I'm not going to take no more treatment. I'm not going to fight no more. I'm tired. And I would tell her, go get a therapist and talk to somebody. And one time she said, black people go to therapy? I said, honey, yes. I go. I'm your mother. I wouldn't tell you something that I don't do or believe in. So when you're struggling with a major illness, when you're struggling with an enemy that you can't see, an enemy you can't touch, an enemy you can't feel, an enemy you can't put your hands on, an enemy with no form or structure to it, it just keeps showing up, a faceless enemy. You don't know how to fight that. That causes you to go into this deep, deep depression, and it takes a while to deal with that. Even when I was diagnosed with brain tumors, I would keep asking God, why? Nobody else in my family have brain tumors. What is it you want from me? What do you want me to do? I've served you all of my life. You go through all of that. What have I done? You go through all of that. That's a major part of depression. It makes you feel guilty. It makes you feel worthless. It bothers with your self-esteem. It bothers with how you communicate with other people. I used to be quick to cut somebody off with not a second thought because, I was good anyway. I didn't need no friends. I didn't want anybody around, you know, but I didn't know how bad I was dealing. I didn't know how bad I was dealing with depression. I just didn't know. And so what had to happen, I wish there was a way I could block people from calling me when I'm on live. I don't know how to do that because I can't just turn my phone off because I'm using it to go live. Hold on one second. Like I said, one day, y'all keep praying for me. One day I'm going to be able to hire me a full production staff that'll take care of all of these things for me, particularly when I'm in the middle of a good thought and I'm on the road, you know. So just keep praying so God do what he needs to do on that end, all right? All right, so a lot of times people don't know how to come out and have these kind of conversations. And my prayer is, from doing this particular thing that I'm doing, my prayer is that someone will see this live, someone will go back and hit the replay, someone will see this, someone will hear my story, see my story, and realize they're not alone, okay? All right, so what we're going to do right now, we only have a few more minutes left. I tried to time myself, but then if I'm led to just keep talking, then that's what I do, you know. So what we're going to do right now, I'm going to play a few commercials from my sponsors. One of my sponsors is Amazing Lash Studios. All right, Amazing Lash Studios. They do lashes. You know, for those of you that wear lashes, I remember I shared with you, I don't wear them because I rub my eyes too much, and then when I'm having a migraine, child, I've been on snatching some things off. So, but I want to try it, but I'm afraid to try it, you know. But one of my sponsors is a major corporation called Amazing Lash Studios, okay? And what they are offering, I have 5 gift cards to give away to my audience, to my listening audience, if you're here in the Atlanta area, okay? Okay, if you're in the Atlanta area, they're located in the Buckhead area, okay? You can go in and get you can get a pair of lashes done, a set of lashes done. This is a $79 value, okay? $79.99, so it's an $80 value. You can go in and get a set of lashes done. Again, they're located in the Buckhead area, and this is Amazing Lash Studios. They're one of my sponsors, okay? I have 5 of these to give away, so make sure you keep watching the show so you can get a chance. If you're in the Atlanta area, if you frequent the Buckhead area, you already know where Amazing Lash Studios are. Their address is 631 Miami Circle Studio, and that's in the Buckhead area here in Atlanta, okay? All right, so we have those. And then my other sponsor, let me play you his commercial. He does all of my book designs. He does all of my banners, anything dealing with graphics, he does it for me. He did all of my book covers. He designed this this flyer here. If you're on my ministry page, anything that you see that has any kind of graphics in it, he did it. Let me pull his commercial up. His name is Vander Williams. You can find him here on Facebook. And he, let me pull his commercial up for you. He is one of my sponsors. Let's get to his commercial. Again, his name is Vander Williams. You can connect with him here on Facebook. Oh, here's his commercial. Why don't you take a listen to his commercial?
Vander Williams. I am the owner and operator of the King Scribes. What's up, family? I am Vander Williams. I am the owner and operator of the King Scribes Writers Community. And I am so glad to have an opportunity to speak with you today. First of all, let me say I am so grateful for my sister,
All right. Thank you so much. That was Vander Williams. Our next sponsor. Our next sponsor is Joy, and she is an independent consultant for paparazzi jewelry. Her page is Joy Gilchrist. That's Joy. We're going to get back into it. J-O-I. She spells Joy J-O-I. So it's J-O-I Gilchrist with a G. All right? Let me pull up her commercial for you. And tonight I'm wearing some of her jewelry. Let me get her commercial pulled up for you. I'm so thankful to have such wonderful sponsors. Here she is. All right, let me get this pulled up for you.
My name is Joy.
Okay, here it is.
Hello, my name is Joy Gilbert, and I am one of the sponsors for the show called What's on Your Mind, hosted by Freddie F. Pratt. I am an independent consultant for paparazzi accessories. All jewelry is $5 plus tax, nickel, and lead free. You can add me on Facebook at Jackie J Jewelry Check to catch my live show showing my beautiful pieces. You can also purchase my jewelry through my website, www.jackjjewelrycheck.com. I have known Sahiga Bradley for many years, and I support her in everything she does. Also, I support fellow entrepreneurs. I am sponsoring this show because I believe in my brand and its ability to change lives. They will be having a giveaway on the show, which I will be participating in, and I will be giving away this lovely necklace that comes with the magic earring. So one of you wonderful people will be giving this beautiful necklace set in the giveaway. My quote that I go by is, if you look good, you feel good.
All right, so thank you to my sponsors again.
Consultant.
Hold on, let me turn this off. All right, so those are my sponsors again. Amazing Lash Studios, located here in Atlanta, in the Buckhead area. Hey, cousin, we get ready to get back into it. I had to run my commercials right quick for my sponsors. Amazing Lash Studios, $80 value. We'll give away this on our next show, so stay tuned, okay? But you have to be in the Buckhead area here in Atlanta, okay? All right. Again, Vander Williams. Look him up on Facebook. These are all my books. All of my books are available on Amazon.com. 2 of them are on your Kindle. You can actually get them, download them right now. Amazon, all of my books are on Prime. Vander did all of my book covers for me, front and back and sleeve. All right. So here are all my books that he did. If you go to my page, either one of my pages, you'll see all of his other work he has done with me. We've been working together about 4 years now. All right. Those of you that are on our Bible study for Thursdays, you know this is the book we're still in. All right. So that's Vander Williams. And again, Joy Gilchrist. I'm wearing her jewelry tonight, this earring and necklace set. All right. So those are my sponsors, and I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much. If you'd like to be a sponsor, inbox me, send me an email or something, and I'll let you know how you can become a sponsor as well, okay? All right. So had to take care of a little business. All right. So now we were talking about how do we figure out how to get our, thanks cousin, How do we figure out how to get into our new normal? How we, develop a new routine after we've gone through a divorce, after we've gone through a split, after we've lost a child, or a parent, when my dad died, I was there in the corner in his room, in the hospital room, praying and believing God, like, how do we deal with when we're praying for loved ones and they die, how do we deal with that? It's hard. I'm telling you, when you are a person of faith and you've seen God, particularly when you've seen God heal you, and then you start praying for God to heal somebody that you love, and they die, and you just like, well, I know you were able to do it, God, because I seen you do it. You start questioning God, like, why didn't you heal my dad? Why did my dad die? Like, why did you heal my daughter? My daughter used to tell me, she would say, Mom, why can't you just wave your hand over me and give me one of those miracles that God gave you? She remembers, when, they told me I was dying in 2007. She was there with me when they called, in fact. She and I were at the movies. It was 6 o'clock on a Sunday. We were going to see a movie. And she was like, who's calling you? Tell them we're going in the movie. I was like, it's my doctor. She was like, why is your doctor calling you on a Sunday? I was like, I don't know. And the first thing he said, and he called my name, he says, are you sitting down somewhere? I said, actually, no. My daughter and I are walking into the movies. He's like, I really need you to get to a quiet place and sit down. And that's when he told me that, they had found some kind of cancer had spread to my brain and I was dying and all of that. That was in 2007, when I lived in Atlanta the first time, and so a lot of things have happened that made it really hard, for me to kind of bounce back. And like I said, when people deal with long-term illness or any kind of illness of a I call it an enemy without a face. You don't know how you fight somebody. You don't know how they look. You don't know how they sound. They just show up. And I'm supposed to know that's you. Cancer is an unseen enemy. Brain tumors they're unseen enemies. Different things that people go through. Different sicknesses that come upon us. We don't know where they come from. They're still trying to figure out, how did I get a brain tumor? No one in my family have brain tumors, so like how I get this kind of brain tumor? Like what? They don't know. So research is imperative. Education is imperative when you're going through things of that nature. But what really winds up happening, because you don't have answers and you can't get answers, and then you're trying to talk to people and you start feeling like, well, I don't want to be a burden to nobody. So you start slowly but surely. You start shutting down. You start keeping this to yourself. But what the doctor said, oh, now everything all right. No, that's not what the doctor said. Then you start wanting people to go to the doctor with you. Oh, I'm all right. I can go by myself. It's because you're starting to shut down now. Because you really don't know how to explain how you feel. And then when you do try to explain, sometimes people make it worse. I think Evangelist Denise pointed this out. Sometimes people can start to just feed into that negative energy. Grandma died from that, and Uncle Bill, he had that too, and child, you don't want to hear all of that, and then when you go try to talk to church folks, child, that's a spirit, I read about that in the Bible. No, you didn't. God showed me you was going to come to me with this, and I've been praying, and stop lying on God. You didn't know anything. You thought I was acting funny because I heard you was the one said it, stuff like that, and so that's why people don't come forward when they have been diagnosed with clinical depression, because we're not good at being there for one another. We got to do better, okay? We got to do better. I want to say this. One of the things the study from the Mayo Clinic talks about are risk factors. It said it often can begin in teenagers. Those of you that have teenagers and they're experiencing things that you can't quite wrap your head around, like what's wrong with them. I want you to consider getting your teens, your preteens. I want you to consider getting them evaluated. Take them to a mental health professional. Because sometimes we just don't know. we're just not that educated to know everything. We might know, you know, a lot of stuff spiritually, but when it comes to dealing with clinical depression and anxiety and mental illness, I know y'all don't like that word because it just sounds bad. Mental illness, mental disorders, we don't want to talk about it. You know, because black people, we were taught house business is house business. What go on in this house, stay in this house. But that's killing a lot of us prematurely. I'm not saying go to the rooftop and shout your business to everyone that passes by. What I am saying, find somebody you can talk to, even if it has to be a clinical professional. Find someone you can talk to so that this thing, this unseen enemy, don't take us out of here prematurely. We keep hearing about too many cases of suicide. I just read a case yesterday about a 9-year-old committed suicide. Like at 9, what else you got to be concerned about except for like playing with your dolls, you know, playing video games, you know, and this is in the African American community, in the African American home, you know, Christian homes. Children are killing themselves by the droves, and nobody wants to talk about it. We don't want to get into this. We don't want nobody to know our business. Well, guess what? We all know now because it's all over the news. It's all over every social media outlet that somebody was struggling with depression, but we don't get into it until something happens. My goal, and I believe the reason why the Lord wants me to be as transparent as I'm being, is so that we can stop the epidemic of black people killing themselves. Not that I'm not concerned about everybody else, but most of the time they get the help they need because they have the resources they need. You know, they look at things a little bit differently. You know, I'm a black woman, you know, so this is what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned that we don't want to have these conversations. I'm concerned that we're not there for each other. I'm concerned that we'll ostracize each other instead of investigating the matter. We'll speculate about a matter. I said it again. I said it before and I'll say it again. People were quick to say, oh, she's funny acting, you know, or you know, she tried to be a such and much, or, you know, or I've even heard, I'm talking about in my adult life, guys, I've even heard people say, oh, you know, she's a white girl in a black girl's body. Just all kind of old stuff. And to me, it's just another form. It's adult bullying is what it is. That's what I call it. It's adult bullying. But nobody really has just sat down and had a real, you know, kind of come to Jesus moment, you know, had a real conversation. Hey, girl, how you feeling? You feel like talking today? And if I say no, let it be no. You know, and if I say yeah, then just, I don't need, as soon as I start talking, you start trying to give me a word from the Lord, or you start trying to quote me a scripture, you know. If I call you as a friend, don't grab your Bible, you know, don't speak in tongues. I just need somebody to talk to. You know, I either need you to listen while I talk, or I need you to talk me out of a place that I'm in. Does that make sense? And that's what people who go through depression need. Sometimes we need people. Most of all, we need understanding. Okay? We need understanding. So depression can often begin in teenagers, people in their 20s and 30s. Listen to what the Mayo Clinic says. Depression can happen at any age. At any age. I don't know when I first noticed signs and symptoms of depression. I can't even tell you. I know it's been a while. But for me to be able to openly talk about it like this, you know, it had to come at this time. It says more women than men are diagnosed with depression, but this may be due in part because, listen to this, I've been saying this, women are more likely to seek treatment. Men won't go to the doctor like they're supposed to, you know, and so by the time you get in your 40s and 50s, you know, you taking the same, the number of pills you take match your age. You taking 40, 50 pills a day because y'all don't go to the doctor, particularly black men. You know, we try to push too hard. You know, we get a lot of kickback from you. You know, but here's the thing. You got to take care of your mental health. You got to take care of your spiritual health as well. And a lot of preachers deal with depression, but they ain't going to never tell y'all that, though. You know. But we do. You know, a lot of prophets deal with depression on a major, major scale. And I promise you they're not going to tell you that. They're just not going to tell you that. Because, you know, when you start getting to these titles, pastors and prophets and bishops and apostles, you know, sometimes that makes them lose sight of, you know, the reality that after all of those titles or before all of those titles, you are a person. You are a human being. Titles don't make you angelic. Titles don't make you immortals. You know, we're still just mere mortals here. You know what I'm saying? It does not make you immutable. It does not make you transcendent. You know, it doesn't make you all of that. Titles they're just titles. And at the end of the day, when you get done preaching and praying and laying hands on all them people, then you go back home and get back in your back cave. You know, you ought to be able to say to somebody, you know, no, I can't preach today. I just need a minute. That's your new normal. If you've been in a car accident, you've had a major illness hit your body, you know, sometimes you got to learn how to deal with your new normal. And your new normal may be, I can't be at every service. Your new normal might be, I can't participate in every concert. If you're a singer, your new normal might be, I can't take every engagement. You know, whatever your particular deal is, if you're a business entrepreneur, you know, if you're a business person, you're an entrepreneur, your new normal might be, I can't take that deal. And it says any kids with gifts that don't know how to deal with it or walk in it need help to, because they find it strange to them if no one formed them, in that child. That's true. Some of you that are dealing with your children, remember I said, according to the Mayo Clinic, depression can often begin as early as the teenage years. You know, but now we're finding it to be preteens. You know, I told you about the 9-year-old. We're finding it to be preteen years. And when you have children that are really gifted, not just academically, but children that are gifted with spiritual gifts at an early age, you know, like I was, and just a lot of times they'll just think they're weird, you know, they'll think something wrong with them, you know, and if no one's there to cover them and explain to them and properly discern and catch those gifts, you know, and take those children and monitor their spiritual warfare. Children don't know how to fight in a spiritual battle like you and I. You know, we know how to get in there and get it. You know, we know how to, we know how to get in there and get it. You know, we know how to speak the language of the Spirit. You know, we know how to use our tongues. We know how to use the Word of God. We know how to use our shield of faith. We know how to, you know, use the blood of Jesus. We know how to do all of that, but children don't know. So a lot of times when you have children that are spiritually gifted at a really early age, you're going to have to watch them because it's going to be easy for them to slip into depression because they're not understanding, like, why do I feel different from the other children? You know, I didn't like to go outside as a child. You know, I love books. I still love books to this day. Me and my baby sister, my parents used to take us to South Carolina every year, every summer to be with my grandmother, you know, and I would take whatever I could find. I would read the dictionary. I would read phone books. Whatever I could find, I would just read. I would just read everything. We would see billboards. We would see road signs. I would read them and make songs out of them. My sister, you get so aggravated. Mama, Dad, you need to shut up. You know, I was just reading. I would read out loud. I would read to myself. But I didn't know, you know, and I would have dreams about stuff, you know. I could tell them, you know, something wrong with that person right there. You know, I was like 12 years old when I first started having prophetic visions and dreams, you know. I didn't know what, you know, I would tell somebody something wrong with that person right there, you know, and just as sure, you know, something down the road would come up, you know, when I would try to say, oh, I've seen that happen before, you know, oh, girl, shut up, you know, and when I would try to say, you know, somebody told me I had a prophetic gift, you ain't no prophet, you know, and I was just like, okay, well, something must be wrong with me then. So when you, like Evangelist Denise said, when you have children that are gifted, you're going to have to monitor them so that they don't go through these issues and states feeling like they're the odd man out, or they'll feel like they're weird, particularly if they're in school age and things of that nature. All right? Thank you, Evangelist Denise. That was a good point she brought up. So some of you are live on our ministry line. Some of you will be watching us on YouTube and then someone on my ministry page. So if I address something that you don't see, don't worry, I'm okay, I'm good. It's just that you're on a different feed than they are on. People might be commenting, okay? Okay, so factors that seem to increase the risk of developing or triggering depression, listen to this, certain personality traits, remember what I just said, such as low self-esteem or being too independent, self-critical, or pessimistic. You know, a lot of times you have people, I think this sometimes, because we're uneducated about stuff. You know, you'll have people that'll say stuff, you know, oh, you act so stupid, or you just stupid. You know, you're damaging a person's self-esteem, you know, and by the time you finish calling them names and saying all that stuff about it, every time they look in the mirror, they don't really see the beauty and the majesty of how God created them. All they keep seeing staring back at them is your harmful words. It don't matter if you 2 or 20 or darn near 200. Words hurt. Whoever came up with sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, honey. That's the biggest lie I ever heard. Words do hurt, and once we release words into the atmosphere, that's something we can't take back. You can go back and try to apologize. You can apologize for years down the line, but I'm telling you, some of those words are like glue. Once you say them to somebody, they stick. So we want to watch our words, because you don't never know what might trigger somebody to have lower self-esteem, or you might not know what somebody already been through. You know, like it's certain things I don't joke about, certain things I don't play about. You know, and to someone else it might seem like, you know, oh, you just a stick in the mud or what have you. No, I just don't think that's funny, because you don't know my story. So that right there, I don't think it's funny. And it's okay if you feel that way. You just have to tell people where you are in life, okay? And so that's one of the things we want to be careful about, because what happens is, I was talking to my therapist, and she was telling me that people who have been in abusive relationships, they suffer from PTSD just like people that have been in military situations. I had no idea. I didn't know that. So that's another thing. Listen to this one. Traumatic or stressful events such as I didn't even know this. It was here before I read it. Such as physical or sexual abuse. If you've ever been in any kind of physical abuse, if you've ever been in any kind of sexual abuse, rape, you know, molestation, fondling as a child, you know, unwanted sexual advances, you know, rape as an adult, you know, let me tell you something. That can put you in a place that you would have never thought you want to be in. A lot of women that commit suicide or think about it, if you sit them down, listen to their story, they've been through a rape, they've been molested, things of that nature. You know, I thank God. I thank Him that He did not allow me to come out of everything I've been through as a bitter woman. You know what I'm saying? I thank Him. One of the things my mama always taught me, she always said, you know, Benita, don't let nobody take your sweetness out you. You a sweet girl, you know. And I was like, yes, ma'am. Even today, I'm 51 years old. She still be like, you a sweet girl. Don't let nobody take that sweetness out of you. But life, y'all, life can get so tumultuous until we just be like, the heck with this, the heck with that, and I'm out. You know, that's how it can get that bad sometimes. So traumatic and stressful events can be risk factors to either trigger depression, the death or loss of a loved one, a difficult relationship. It's hard living with somebody you can't talk to. It's hard. That's why I don't envy people's relationships. I don't envy people who's married. You know, I've been single for a long time now. You know, and I don't envy people who's married. I don't envy people who are in relationships, because you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And I encourage you, don't be envious of other people, okay? Financial problems, you know, I've been through that. You know, lost everything, had to rebuild literally from the ground. In my opinion, was homeless. You know, that's just my opinion. That's how I felt. I was homeless, you know, and had to totally rebuild everything from the ground up. You know what I'm saying? So blood relatives with a history of depression, bipolar disorder, alcoholism, or suicide thoughts, being lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender, or having variations in the development of genital organs that aren't clearly male or female, intersex, is an unsupportive situation. Okay, so what I'm reading to you are the risk factors that contribute to people being diagnosed and treated for clinical depression or major depressive disorder. Okay, this is according to the Mayo Clinic. I'll read it again. Being lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender, or having variations in the development of genital organs that aren't clearly male or female, intersex, is an unsupported situation. I already know how the church feels. I already know what the Bible says. I already know what the scripture says. But what we have to look at when we talk about lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, all of that, we still have to look at the person. You know, we have to look at them as people. I talked about this one time, and then, you know, someone I thought was a friend, maybe they still are a friend, I don't know, you know, but they started posting all this stuff about, you know, what the Bible says about homosexuality and, you know, abominations, and if you, you know, start talking about, you know, they were saying like I was saying I supported it. You know, I don't have to explain to you what I'm saying unless my discussion is relevant to you, to your deliverance, or to your salvation in some kind of way. But if you are a teacher of the word, then you should not be so quick to assume someone is saying one thing or another. After I saw that, I said, well, maybe I'm not going to talk about that anymore. Again, I'm free. I'm so free from the opinions of people, you know, because except for the grace of God, a lot of us will be trapped in a lot of stuff, you know, that's not pleasing to God, if that's what you want to say, if that's the interpretation of the scriptures. If that's the case, a lot of us have done, still do, some stuff that's not altogether pleasing. But we're so dogmatic. We're focusing on that. I talked one time before about interviewing a transgender man. He's making a transition to becoming a woman. I actually sat down and had a conversation with him. He talked to me about his battle with depression and thoughts of suicide, and so he said it's very prevalent in their particular community. And I wanted to know about it. I wanted to know. I'm the kind of person, if I want to know something, I'm going to ask. I'll ask questions, because I can't always go and make a proper diagnosis without proper information. Okay? History of other mental health disorders, such as anxiety disorder, eating disorders, or post-traumatic stress disorder. Remember I told you that before they knew what PTSD was, you know, my dad was a military man, and my dad would come home sometimes, and my dad would get so drunk, you know, he would start speaking German to us. We wouldn't understand nothing he was saying. You know, he was like, I'm going to get my gun after all y'all. You know, he was like, this man don't know he's talking to his children, you know. And but that was before PTSD had a name. That was before PTSD had had treatment, you know. And so we have gone through so much in the black community that we don't want to talk about, that we can't talk about, that we were told not to talk about, you know, until sometimes we don't get the help we need. So one of the risk factors, according to the Mayo Clinic, that contributes to depression in children, teenagers, preteens, 20s, 30s, it can happen at any age. It can be triggered at any age. I don't want you to get so wrapped up in your mind that depression is an older person's thing, or it's a white person thing, or it's a gay person thing, or I heard a group of preachers talking about depression one time, and almost all of them in the meeting said that if you are saved, if you got the Holy Ghost, you filled with the Spirit, you speak in tongues, there is absolutely no way you can struggle or be diagnosed with any form of mental illness. There's no way you can have depression. There's no way you can have anxiety. There's absolutely no way, you should be struggling with anything. And I'm looking in the audience, and I'm like, because as a prophet, folks will be talking about one thing, and you'll be seeing a whole different screen right before your eyes. So I'm looking at the main ones who are doing all this deep talking, and I'm just like, bye. So we got to stop, always assuming that it's one thing when we don't have the education or the knowledge to see what it really is. So according to the Mayo Clinic, it says this, here are other risk factors: drug abuse, alcohol abuse, recreational drugs. I don't know why y'all think marijuana is not a drug. Okay? I don't know why y'all think it's not a drug. I don't know why people think alcohol is not a drug. If you can get addicted to it, if it's not good for the body, that's a whole nother subject. Here's what I mentioned earlier. Serious or chronic illness including cancer, stroke. Remember I told you I had 2 strokes before that's how they found out that I had the brain tumors, because I was having strokes. Some of you on the live, you have been through cancer, stroke, chronic pain, or heart disease. Certain medications, such as some high blood pressure medicines cause depression. Sleeping pills causes you to have depression. A lot of different medications that you're taking causes you to have symptoms of depression. But here's the thing: talk to your doctor before you stop taking any medications, or before you start doing anything new that might kind of alter where you are, whether it be physically or mentally or psychologically. Okay? All right. So we're going to save some for next time, okay? So don't forget about our sponsors, Amazing Lash Studios. Don't forget about our sponsor, Vander Williams and Joy Gilchrist at Jazzy J's Jewelry Chest. That's a tongue twister by itself. Bet you can't say it 5 times fast. So those are our sponsors, and our affiliates. You can find us here on Facebook, Sunshine Sisters and Food for Thought. You can look us up on Facebook and check out what we have going on. We also have our YouTube channels. You can please go over and subscribe to all of our YouTube channels. Benita Bradley Ministries have a YouTube channel, which we're on down here. Sunshine Sisters has a YouTube channel, and Food for Thought is our cooking show, where we have some wonderful recipes, and we share. I don't share all the recipes because they're going in a book. But you'll see my signature salad dressings. You'll see a lot of different foods that I make there on our Food for Thought channel, okay? When I did the Food for Thought channel, it was because I am a brain tumor survivor, and when I was on my journey to lose weight, one of the kind of brain tumors I had, it kept the fluid retained on my body, and it was impossible for me to lose weight. So when I had to have a second surgery. Remember, I had 2 different types of brain tumor. So they did the surgery for the first one, and then 6 months later, I had another surgery for the other kind of brain tumor that I had. So in the second surgery, it released all of the fluid from my brain,